The SCHD ETF was just saved right in the nick of time. The ETF just announced that they will be paying a 65.5-cent dividend, up from around 63.5-cent dividend, which was paid around the same time last year. This now gives the September 2023 dividend payout for SCHD up around 2.8%, which although isn't the biggest increase ever, it still showcases dividend growth nonetheless, which is very important to us SCHD investors. Now in this video, we are going to dig deep into the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF's dividend payouts historically and why I think that the most recent dividend increase saved the ETF as a whole. Now stick around, drop a like down below and subscribe if you want to see more future content like this. Now SCHD is an ETF that has a pretty simple objective. It's to track as closely as possible before fees and expenses the total return of the Dow Jones US Dividend 100 Index. So this ETF tracks an entire index, made up of around 100 or so different stocks. Now some of the good things about this ETF is that it's straightforward, it's low cost, it's simple, but yet it has the potential to build massive wealth, and it's done so historically. Now one of the great things about this ETF is the fact that it is so diversified. The holding breakdowns are as follow. Industrials are around 18%, healthcare around 16%, financials around 15%, technology around 13%, consumer defensive around 13%, energies around 10%, consumer cyclicals around 10%, communications around 4%, basic materials around 2%, and then a small bit of utilities and cash. Now what's great about buying into an ETF like this and holding onto it long term, with it being so diversified, even if a few of these sectors don't perform all that well, let's say over a 5-year time frame or a 10-year time frame, you're going to have so much exposure into different industries that even with some bad performers, the good should outweigh it. Now the top 10 holdings for this ETF as of right now are things like Cisco, Broadcom, Amgen, the Home Depot, AbbVie, Chevron, Merck, Texas Instrument, Coca-Cola, and Pepsi. And like we said earlier, there's around 100 different stocks within this ETF. So once again, even if a few stocks don't perform all that well, the rest of the stocks should pick up the slack. So let's head over to the Schwab website and talk first about the new dividend that was just declared and why I think this dividend is so darn important for SCHD. Now the dividend that we're talking about right now is the 9/20/2023 dividend with a record date of 9/21 and a payable date of 9/25. The dividend amount, like I said, is right around 65.5 cents per share. Now looking at SCHD's 2022 September dividend payout, we're looking at around 63.5 cents. Now when it comes to SCHD, obviously the dividend growth rate is very important surrounding the ETF and all that it has to offer. So investors are very, very crucial of how much SCHD is paying out in forward dividends compared to the previous 12 months, because that's of course going to give SCHD a positive or negative growth rate from there. Now the reason I said towards the top of the video that this most recent dividend payout might have actually saved SCHD, of course I'm being a little bit exaggerative, but in all reality, me having my ear very close to the SCHD community and really following closely all the most recent concerns around SCHD, considering the ETF is down 2.66% year to date and only up 3.41% over the last year. This of course does not include dividends, but this is during a time where the market is up 16.25% year to date and 14.2% over the last year. So the reason I say, and the reason I think that the recent dividend increase sort of saved the ETF is because I'm talking more so around the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF settlement. As of recently, the SCHD community has been very critical of the performance, and I actually even said in a video a while back that if the next September dividend is not going to be higher than the previous September dividend of around 63.7 cents, I think the community is going to have an all-out fit, because even though SCHD has not performed well on the year-to-date or 1-year time frame, the overall community was at least hoping for a dividend increase, even if it's a small one. Now, the fact that the basket of holdings within SCHD and SCHD itself somehow squeezed out a small increase as far as a forward payable dividend, I think is definitely crucial for the overall stock and the stocks community, knowing that even if SCHD trades sideways throughout a period of time and might not have the most growth as far as ETF price, the dividend is still growing up and to the right, which can hopefully continue to add to the 11.32% 10-year dividend growth rate or the 14% almost 5-year dividend growth rate that SCHD has had historically. Now that brings up another point. Do I think that SCHD is going to continue to grow the dividend as fast as it has historically? Well, that of course is going to be very, very hard to do, considering right here, these are all of SCHD's previous dividends that were paid. Here's the amounts right here. And this column right here is very important. This is the percentage change from the previous year. So this dividend is up 30.4% over the previous year's same quarter dividend payouts. This one's up 22.1%. You get the idea here. So looking through SCHD's historical dividend increases year over year, there's been certain times in history where they're actually raising the dividend year over year up 30%, up 29%. There's been some massive increases historically. Now, this is of course one of the main arguments that those that sort of bet against SCHD might have, saying that the dividend growth is nothing but a thing of the past and that investors cannot assume that this ETF is going to continue to do so. And to be fair, if we look at the last dividend that was paid in June, 66.5 cents or so, compared to the previous year's June dividend payouts of around 70.3 cents per share, which actually gave SCHD a minus 5.6% change from the previous year. Now, this is obviously kind of shocking considering there was a long streak that the SCHD ETF went on, continuing to raise their dividend, even if it's a small raise of around 3% or so. And although this ETF does have more to offer than just dividend growth, I know that a lot of the members in the SCHD community, a lot of the fans of the ETF are very diehard when it comes to this dividend growth. And it's a very important aspect of the ETF and of course their overall portfolio. So that being said, it's going to be interesting to see if SCHD continues to raise their dividend compared to the previous year over the next few quarters. And I still think at this point, that's going to be a big make or break decision on if a lot of dividend growth investors choose to invest into SCHD instead of picking a different ETF, for example. Now, another major thing to keep your eye on when it comes to the SCHD ETF is the fact that the reconstitution happens once a year and different stocks are going to be taken out and different stocks are going to be added into this overall ETF. Now, this is also going to be very important considering some stocks that they might add into the ETF moving forward might actually have a much higher starting dividend yield or much higher dividend growth for that matter. But there's also going to be certain years like we saw over this last year where some of the stocks that are added or taken out might actually make the overall ETF's forward dividend yield even drop a little bit. So the reconstitution for SCHD is always an important time to really keep your eye on which stocks are going to be added to the ETF and which stocks are going to be taken away, because that also can make or break the forward dividend and the forward dividend growth for the ETF. Now, moving forward, my thoughts on the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF are more the same. I'm still buying a share or two of SCHD every day or so, and I currently, as of right now, across all my portfolios have around 400 or 415 shares, somewhere in that range. Now, this ETF, along with other high-quality dividend growth ETFs, make up a portion of my personal portfolio that I don't really worry about and are more or less very long-term buy and hold ETFs that I'll probably have in my portfolio for 20-25 plus years from now. But that being said, when it comes to the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF and the most recent dividend that was announced, I want to hear down below what you guys think about the most recent dividend and if you're happy with it, if you're mad about it, and what you think about SCHD from here on out. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.